My boyfriend texted, "I found someone else. I want nothing more to do with you." I replied, "As you wish." Welcome back with a new real shock story. Before we start, comment and tell me which city you're watching from. At the end, don't forget to subscribe and rate it from 0 to 10. Let's enjoy the story, everyone.
I never thought my life would change because of a single text message. You always hear people talk about heartbreak, about betrayal, but you never imagine it will come crashing down on you in the middle of an ordinary day when your guard is down and you feel safe. My name is Alec Rose, and this is the story of the moment that broke me, but also the moment that revealed the strength I didn't know I had. That it started off just like any other morning. I woke up, scrolled through my phone, and smiled at the little notifications that lit up the screen. My boyfriend's name had been there so many times before. Sweet good mornings, quick check-ins, silly jokes that made me feel like I was his whole world. I believed him. I believed in us. That morning, though, the screen was empty. No text, no good morning, love. I brushed it off, convincing myself he was just busy. He worked long hours sometimes, and I always told myself not to be needy. That's what love was, right? Trust. The day passed like it always did, filled with little routines that distracted me. But deep down, there was a heaviness I couldn't quite explain, a silence that felt different this time. And then, late in the afternoon, my phone finally buzzed. For a split second, my heart lifted, thinking it was him. It was him, but not the way I expected, not the way I wanted. The message was short, almost too short for the weight it carried. He wrote, "I found someone else. I want nothing more to do with you." I froze, my breath caught in my throat, and for a moment, the world around me went completely still. I must have read it 10 times in a row, hoping, praying, that my eyes were playing tricks on me. My hands trembled so badly, I almost dropped the phone. My chest burned as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Just like that, with one cold, careless text, he ended everything we had built together. I didn't cry right away. At first, there was only shock, numbness. I stared at the words, my mind racing in 1,000 directions. What did he mean? Who was she? Was it real? Had he been lying to me all along? Memories flashed through my head. Our first date, his promises, the nights he held me and swore he would never leave. Every single one of those moments suddenly felt poisoned. When the tears finally came, they came hard. My whole body shook. It wasn't just sadness, it was humiliation, rage, the kind of pain that claws into your chest until you can't breathe. And yet, behind all of that, something else began to stir, something darker, something stronger. Because in that moment, as broken as I felt, I realized something about him, about me. He thought he could throw me away like I was nothing, that I would collapse quietly while he moved on to someone else. He thought I would be weak, but he was wrong. That night, I lay awake, replaying every little detail, every excuse he had made in the weeks before, the missed calls, the late nights, the vague explanations that never added up. I saw it now for what it was, lies stacked on top of lies. And the worst part, I had trusted him anyway. I had convinced myself he was just stressed, that he loved me, that I was enough, but I wasn't enough for him. The next day, I found myself staring at my phone, tempted to send him a dozen messages, begging for answers, screaming at him, asking why. But something inside me stopped. I didn't want to give him that power. He had taken enough already. If he thought I was going to fall apart and disappear, he had no idea who he was dealing with. I crafted a reply, not one of anger, not one of tears, but one that came from a place of clarity, of strength. And as my finger hovered over the send button, I felt something shift deep inside me. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about me reclaiming what he tried to break. But before I pressed send, another message from him appeared on my screen, and that was when the truth hit me like a punch to the stomach. He hadn't just moved on. He hadn't just left. He had betrayed me for weeks while I was still loving him, trusting him, believing in him. That was the moment my heartbreak turned into something else entirely. When I saw his second message, my stomach twisted so hard I thought I might be sick. It wasn't just a clean break, like he had found someone new and decided to walk away. No, it was worse, much worse. He admitted so casually that it hadn't just started yesterday. He had been with her for weeks, weeks of lies, weeks of pretending, weeks where I was pouring my heart into someone who had already chosen to betray me. I felt my hands go cold as the reality sank in. Every moment of distance, every late reply, every excuse about working late, it was all connected. My mind replayed each one like puzzle pieces falling into place. That night he canceled on me because he was too tired. He was probably with her. That weekend he said he had a family emergency. He was probably lying in her arms. The thought of it made my chest ache so badly I couldn't breathe. I sat there, staring at my phone, replaying his words over and over. I found someone else. I want nothing more to do with you. As if I had been nothing. As if the years we spent together could be deleted with a single message. Rage bubbled up inside me, but under it was something even sharper. I had been loyal, faithful. I had defended him when people questioned his behavior. I had trusted him even when the signs were right there in front of me. But what haunted me most wasn't just that he cheated. It was that he thought so little of me that he ended it with a text. No phone call, no face-to-face conversation, just a string of words sent in seconds, like I was disposable, like I didn't matter. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, but instead, I sat in silence, staring at the wall, my tears burning hot against my skin. For hours, I replayed every memory, asking myself what I had done wrong. Was I not pretty enough? Not smart enough? Did I not love him the way he needed? The questions drilled into me until I felt like I was crumbling from the inside out. And yet, as broken as I felt, a strange clarity began to form. This wasn't about me. It was about him, his weakness, his selfishness, his inability to stay loyal. And as much as he wanted to crush me, to throw me away like garbage, I knew I couldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me fall apart. That night, lying in bed with my phone clutched in my hand, I began to notice the little details I had ignored. The nights he suddenly put his phone face down, the passwords he changed without explanation, the way he avoided eye contact when I asked about his day. All those little gut feelings I had brushed aside, they had been warnings. I just hadn't wanted to believe them. The betrayal cut deeper than I can explain. It wasn't just losing him, it was losing the trust I had in myself. Because if I could be fooled like this, if I could love someone so blindly, then what did that say about me? I didn't eat for 2 days. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. Her smile, his lies, the life they had been living while I was left in the dark. It felt like I was drowning, gasping for air that never came. And yet, even in the middle of that storm, something inside me refused to die. I thought about all the people who had been cheated on, betrayed, left behind, and I realized this wasn't just my story. This was bigger. It was about how easy it is for someone to break your heart, and how hard it is to rebuild. One evening, when the sun was setting and the world outside my window was painted in golden shadows, I finally opened my phone again. My hands shook as I typed. I didn't beg, I didn't scream, I didn't even ask why. Instead, I wrote a reply that was simple, sharp, and final. Words that carried the weight of every ounce of strength I had left in me. Words that would remind him I wasn't weak, and that he hadn't destroyed me. But just before I pressed send, another notification popped up, another message from him, and what I read next nearly shattered me all over again. Because in that message, he admitted something I never saw coming, something that made me realize this betrayal was deeper and darker than I had ever imagined. When that notification flashed on my screen, I almost didn't open it. Part of me thought I had already suffered enough, that nothing he could say would matter anymore. But my hands moved on their own, trembling as I swiped it open. His words spilled out in cold, matter-of-fact sentences, as if he was confessing something he didn't even feel guilty about. He told me she wasn't just someone he met recently. She wasn't some random girl who had suddenly appeared in his life. He had been talking to her for months, long before the distance started, long before the excuses began. He admitted that when he was with me, he was already with her too. 2 lives, 2 versions of himself, one for me, one for her. And the worst part, he said he had fallen in love with her, while still pretending to love me. I remember feeling my chest tighten so violently, I had to put the phone down. My whole body shook as if my skin was too small to contain the rage boiling inside me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. I had been his cover, his backup, the safe option he kept around while building something new with someone else. Tears blurred my vision, but I forced myself to read every single word. And with each line, it felt like pieces of my past were being ripped away. Those anniversaries we celebrated, the gifts he gave me, the nights he whispered how much he loved me, all of them had been shared with her in secret. He didn't just lie to me, he built an entire life behind my back. For hours, I sat there frozen, my phone still in my lap, my mind racing through every memory, every detail I thought I could trust. And then the anger came sharp, hot, unrelenting, anger at him, anger at myself, anger at the way I had silenced my instincts because I didn't want to lose him. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Even though I didn't know what she looked like, I imagined them together, laughing at the same time I was crying alone. The thought tore at me until I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, paced my room, my hands clutching my hair as if I could rip the pain out of me. I wanted answers. I wanted to know why. Why lie? Why drag me along when he had already chosen someone else? But deep down, I realized there would never be an answer that would heal me. Nothing he said could make sense of the cruelty he had shown. The days that followed blurred together. I went through the motions, pretending I was fine around others, but inside I was unraveling. Every corner of my life had his fingerprints on it. The songs we used to sing in the car, the restaurants where we had our favorite meals, even the streets we walked together felt poisoned. It was like he was everywhere, haunting me with the ghost of the man I thought I loved. But even in the middle of that darkness, a seed of something else began to grow. It started small, like a whisper I almost couldn't hear. A voice inside me that said, "No, this is not the end of you." I thought about how he had treated me, how he threw me away like I was nothing, and then I thought about what that said about him, not me. His betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was proof of his weakness, his selfishness, and suddenly, I knew I couldn't let his actions define me. So I made a choice. I would not beg him back. I would not fight with the other woman. I would not waste my energy on someone who treated me like I was disposable. But I also wouldn't let him walk away thinking he had broken me completely. I drafted my reply carefully, my fingers shaking as I typed, each word chosen with precision, each sentence carrying the weight of my pain but also the strength he had underestimated. I told him I knew the truth now. I told him I saw through his lies. And most of all, I told him that, while he thought he was leaving me behind, he had actually freed me from the prison of his deceit. When I read it back, it didn't sound like the voice of a broken girl. It sounded like the voice of someone reclaiming her power. And for the first time in days, I felt a flicker of control return to me. But just as I was about to send it, another notification appeared on my phone. This time it wasn't him, it was her. And when I saw her name for the first time, my whole body went cold, because what she had to say would change everything. When her name appeared on my screen, I swear my whole body went numb. For days, I had imagined her, built her up in my head like some shadow, haunting every memory I had of him. And now here she was, sending me a message as if she had the right, as if she owed me something, or maybe as if she wanted to prove she had one. For a long time, I just stared at it. My hands were sweating, my chest felt heavy, and my mind was screaming at me not to open it. But curiosity, or maybe masochism, pushed me to swipe it open. Her words were polite at first, almost too careful, as though she didn't want to come off as cruel. She said she thought I should know the truth. My heart hammered in my chest as I scrolled down, reading each word with a mix of anger and disbelief. She admitted that she had known about me from the very beginning. She knew. She wasn't just some girl he kept hidden. She was a willing participant. She told me how he used to compare us, how he said I was too emotional, too trusting, too boring. She said he laughed about how easy it was to lie to me. I dropped my phone onto the bed as if it had burned me. My legs gave out beneath me, and I sat there shaking, my breath coming in gasps. It wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was cruelty. He had taken my love and turned it into a joke. He had shared my flaws like secrets with her, feeding her with pieces of me while I was left with nothing. The pain was unbearable, but beneath it rose something else. Rage, a rage so deep it made my hands tremble and my voice shake as I whispered to myself, how could he? How could she? I picked up my phone again, forcing myself to finish reading her message. And the more I read, the clearer it became. This wasn't about her trying to help me. This was about her victory lap. She told me how he had chosen her, how he said she was everything he had ever wanted. She said I should move on, that I should accept reality. Reality. That word cut deeper than any insult. Reality was that I had loved him with everything I had. Reality was that he had lied, cheated, and humiliated me. And now reality was that she wanted to rub it in my face. I can't even explain what happened inside me at that moment. It was like all the tears, all the heartbreak, all the nights I couldn't breathe, they boiled into something sharp and unstoppable. My chest was heavy, my throat burned, but my heart refused to die in that moment. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to unleash every ounce of pain that was clawing inside me. But instead, I closed the message. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because deep down, I knew my reply wasn't for her. It wasn't even for him. It was for me. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I went through them like a ghost, my body moving but my soul somewhere far away. Nights were the worst. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying their words, their betrayal, their laughter. It felt like the walls of my room were closing in on me, suffocating me with memories I didn't ask for. But there was something else happening in those sleepless nights. Between the tears and the anger, a new fire was starting to burn. I began to see things clearly for the first time. I realized that their cruelty said nothing about me. It said everything about them. Their lies, their mockery, their games. It was proof of their weakness. Proof that they couldn't understand love the way I gave it. And that realization changed everything. One night, as I sat there holding my phone, I typed out my reply, not to her, to him. It wasn't long. It wasn't dramatic. It was sharp, precise, and final. I told him I knew the truth, that I pitied him more than I hated him, and that one day he would wake up and realize he had lost something he could never replace. I told him that while he thought he had broken me, he had actually freed me, because now, for the first time, I could see who he really was. When I pressed send, I felt a wave of something I hadn't felt in weeks. Relief. It wasn't joy. It wasn't closure. But it was power. My power. And in that moment, I knew I had taken something back from him. But the story didn't end there. Because the next day, something happened that I never saw coming. Something that turned this whole nightmare into a moment I will never forget. Because he called me Dot, and in his voice, trembling and broken, I heard something I never thought I would regret. When his name flashed on my screen the next morning, I thought my eyes were deceiving me. For weeks I had begged silently for a call, for an explanation, for something more than the coldness of his texts. But now that it was happening, now that his number was vibrating in my hand, I didn't want it anymore. My thumb hovered over the decline button. I almost let it ring out, but something inside me, some strange mix of curiosity and defiance, pushed me to answer. The moment I heard his voice, I knew something had changed. It wasn't confident. It wasn't cold. It was shaking. "Alec," he whispered, as if the word itself was heavy in his throat. For a second, I couldn't speak. I just listened, waiting. He started rambling, words spilling out in a rush. He said he had made a mistake. He said he hadn't meant to hurt me the way he did. He said she wasn't what he thought she was, that she had turned on him the moment things got hard. He told me he couldn't stop thinking about me, about us, about everything we had built together. He said he wanted me back. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't even feel tempted. I just sat there in silence, listening to the same voice that once made me feel safe, now sounds so small, so pathetic. I thought about all those nights I stayed up waiting for him to come home. All those times I defended him when people warned me he wasn't right for me. All those moments I convinced myself that his love was enough. And now here he was, broken, trying to crawl back after throwing me away like I was nothing. I finally spoke, and my voice was steady. "Do you know what you did to me?" I asked. He stuttered, said he was sorry, said he knew he had destroyed everything. But sorry didn't erase the nights I couldn't breathe. Sorry didn't erase the lies. Sorry didn't erase the way he humiliated me in front of someone else. I told him that I had believed in us, that I gave him every ounce of love I had, and he threw it away. I told him that while he thought he had broken me, he had actually made me stronger. Because when you survive a betrayal like this, you stop fearing what people can do to you. You realize the only power they have is the power you give them. And I wasn't giving him that anymore. He begged then, his voice cracked, his words tumbled out like a man drowning. He said he couldn't live without me. He said he had lost everything. He said he didn't know who he was without me. But I had already made my decision. And this is the part I want you to really hear. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me rage. I simply told him the truth. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. Goodbye. And then I hung up. The silence afterward was deafening, but it wasn't painful. It was peaceful. For the first time in weeks, I felt free. The weight on my chest lifted, my tears dried, and in that moment, I knew I had taken back the control he tried to steal from me. The days that followed were different. The world didn't feel as heavy. I started walking outside again, smiling at strangers, finding little pieces of myself in places I had forgotten. I realized I had let him define me for too long, let his opinion of me become my reality. But now I understood his betrayal didn't make me unworthy. It made him unworthy of me. I never responded to her message. I never called him back. I didn't need to. The best revenge wasn't anger, wasn't screaming, wasn't even proving him wrong. The best revenge was living, healing, becoming the person he no longer had, the privilege of knowing. And that's what I want to leave you with. Heartbreak feels like the end of the world. Betrayal feels like it will consume you whole. But in the middle of that darkness, you discover something you didn't know you had: the strength to rise, the courage to walk away, and the power to rebuild. So if you've ever been where I was, if someone has ever broken you with lies, with cruelty, with betrayal, remember this: their choices don't define you. Your response does. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to the person who destroyed you is nothing at all, because silence is louder than anything they will ever expect.